Hi guys, welcome to Last Stitch Effort, episode 19. My name is Pacasha, and this is my knitting podcast about using up my stash. That's it. So you're not going to get like acquisitions or anything like that here. Probably not a whole lot of enabling, but I would like to think that I inspire you to work on your stash, maybe along with me. That'd be great. I know I feel pretty good when I clear stuff out of here, but anyway. So let's start with what I'm wearing. This is my Ranunculus. I made it from Drops Bell and Petrol, I believe is the color. Everybody's made this. I was really late to the party, as I usually am with trendy knitting things. Yeah, I'm not going to stand up or anything. It's just, regular like hip length and whatever. And I wear it on top of dresses usually because of where it hits me on the waist. And I've made two of them, but another one I made was using a super like thick cotton from Yarn Bee, which is a Hobby Lobby brand, and it just didn't hold up after blocking, much less one wash. It pilled pretty quickly, and it was super thick, so it was also, for being it's supposed to be kind of a lightweight thing, I believe, usually, so it was a bit too thick, and yeah, so that didn't work out. But Drops Bell is a fantastic cotton yarn. It's, for being, I think it's an Aran weight or worsted weight, it's still pretty light and drapey, and yeah, it's not heavy at all. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing. And I have knitted slippers on, but I'm not going to pull those off. Actually, I think I have before, but I don't remember the pattern, but these are some handspun slippers I made, and I put elastic along the tops because that garter stitch flares quite a bit, but that's that. So let's get to numbers. I have actually finished quite a few projects. Well, maybe numbers wise it's not that impressive, but I did finish some things. And it's been a while because I put that my stash video in, and so I kind of took a little bit of a break, and then I just focused on knitting for a while instead of, I don't know, trying to find time to film something. Because let me tell you, the stash video, it was a lot of work, but just the failure of me holding the phone vertically instead of horizontally just was very taxing and stressful, and I honestly just didn't even want to record anything anymore. I was so embarrassed, and it's not that big of a deal, but for some reason it was to me after I posted it and realized that. Just silly. Okay, so let's get to things. So because I finished some stuff, I finished 268 grams worth of yarn from my stash. So that leaves my total grams in my stash is 42,074. So that's a bit different. I didn't use a whole bunch of like actual types of yarn up. So my Ravelry stash still sits at 265. And that all is equivalent to about 841 balls of yarn, like 50-gram balls of yarn. So ignore, isn't this gross? Like, I'm kind of thinking about starting, if you are a person who buys journals a lot, like I do, and you start and you like write in one page and then you stop, maybe you'll understand this, but I want to start a new journal because apparently I touched this with like lotion on my hands, and so I just feel like the whole thing is ruined now. So I'll take those off. So I kind of feel like starting this whole thing over, but that's a bit silly. So it's not like I don't have the journals to do so, and it's not like they're there for any other purpose other than my silliness. But okay, so that's numbers. So let's talk about finished objects. I have 3, and we'll do this first one as a gift. I'm not going to say who it's for because it's supposed to be a surprise. But these are, I kind of made my own set here. Basically, my friend wanted a set of hand-holding mittens, like a mitten that you can hold a hand with. And so I made one plain mitten apiece for the couple, and they're sized appropriately for said people. This is Malabrigo worsted in purple mystery and lettuce. And then there's a few patterns out there for hand-holding mittens, but I couldn't really find one that I liked. So I just kind of made up my own thing. Plus I wanted to add a colorwork motif that would incorporate both colors. Now, typically I probably wouldn't put these colors together. Like I would do a pinker version of this, just color theory wise, that's how it works out in my head. But they're actually quite striking together. So I wanted to use a pattern that would bring that out. And so I took one from Andrea Rangel's Alterknit Stitch Dictionary. This is her first one. She recently came out with a second one, which I don't have yet. And Mark, if you're watching, I wouldn't mind it if you ordered it as a present, but I'm not going to do it myself because I'm trying to control myself. We all know how that goes. But anyway, this is a cool little book. It's different than a lot of other Stitch dictionaries because, as it says, I mean, it's for their modern knitting motifs. Typically, I like Fair Isle, like more traditional type colorwork charts, but this is really cool. It's got some really cool designs and really striking and just really cool designs. So use that and kind of made up my own pattern. Sorry for bumping the camera there. And so this is the hand-holding mitten. Isn't that trippy? Like, that's so cool looking. I think it turned out pretty good. So I did the ribbing as I did for the plain mittens, which I used the Tin Can Knits, like Simplest Mittens, whatever. They're super easy mitten pattern as a guideline for these. Of course, my gauge was a little bit off, and so I did have to, you know, make some adjustments for size and my gauge, but I used the Tin Can Knits pattern for this. I used the cuff numbers to match the corresponding mitten. And then I had to adjust to make the stitch pattern work. It was a repeat of 10. Pardon me. So I had to, you know, add some stitches to that, and then I kind of just made up decreases at a rate. I kind of wanted it to be heart-shaped. And I know some patterns decrease down the center, which was fine, but I really wanted a broad space to show off that pattern as much as possible because it's pretty cool. Like, I think that turned out really cool. It looks even better like now that it's all blocked. So I'm really excited for these people to get this present. I think that's pretty cute. So pretty pleased with that. So, and then I do have leftovers from that, but not in quantities that I can like make matching hat. I thought about making like a hat or a headband or something, you know, to match, but I just don't think I'm gonna have the appropriate yardage for that, for what I would want to do. Anyway, so they're just sitting in here now until they find another home or project is really what I meant. But I've got a few ideas, especially with that green, because that green is like not my favorite color, but almost my favorite color. So another project that I finished was this super cute pair of socks for my daughter, Ngaio. And so this is kind of a grayish taupe that was just like in my sock yarn leftovers. I think it's a Cloudborn like twist or something, and Shaela Heather would be my guess. The pair of socks that I used most of the yarn, I didn't record in Ravelry very well, or at all that I can find, but this is just a guess. So I think that that's what this is, and this is some orange flower yarns that I got in like a mystery bag type thing. And I already made one pair of socks with her this fall out of this pink color, and I thought she could use another pair. So it's just 60 stitches, 60 stitches. I cast on 60 stitches using German long tail cast on. And then I did a 2x2, and then I work one row plain of the ribbon color so I don't get weird purl bumps in there, and then just the leg, and then I did just a regular slip stitch heel. When I do a heel, when I do the this kind of heel where it's kind of like that slip stitch reinforcement, I do my slip stitches on the purl side. So I'll knit a row, and then I'll come back and I'll purl slip, slip with the yarn in front, and it creates a nice reinforced heel, and it's less purls versus the usual way where you knit, slip, and then purl all the way across. So it just kind of saves me a few purls, which I don't really mind doing purls, but I think I got this technique from Laura Linneman from the Knit Girls. And she may have gotten it from Wendy Johnson. I'm not sure where it came from, but yeah, so she mentioned doing that, and I thought that was fantastic. And she also mentioned doing decreases along the bottom instead of the side of the sock gusset. And so I do that, and I've talked about that a few times in the past, but basically my beginning of round after I turn the heel is at this point of the heel. And so I'll knit one stitch, and then I'll decrease, and then I'll knit around and decrease when I come back, one stitch in, the last 3 stitches, decrease, knit one, and then I'm back to the start of the row, and then I do a plain row. So that's the beginning of my row there, and I decrease there. And I think that it looks cool and it feels nice. I don't know that it's a huge difference. Once again, I've talked about this before, so I'm sorry if I'm boring you about that. But then I get down to the foot. I decrease at about 1.5 inches from the total length of the foot. Sometimes 2, but usually 1.5 I find fits better for me. And then it's just a really standard. Actually, it's not standard. I got it from Mina Phillips. I have several of her sock collections, and she describes her decreases on those, so I'll let you figure those out, but they are a fantastic value if you want simple sock patterns. I would highly recommend a Mina Phillip knitting expat patterns, because she walks you through it really well, and they're great fitting socks, and they're super easy to memorize. I don't have to think about any of these numbers anymore. Well, for the 60 stitch size, which Ngaio and I have pretty small feet. Mine are shorter than hers, but we both have fairly thin feet too. So anyway, that's my standard sock pattern. And Mark made my sock blockers. They're pretty cute. Mark is my husband, if I haven't said that before. He's kind of awesome, and yeah. So, speaking of Mark, if you have been around at any point since I think the end of October is when I started this, which I kind of feel like I've been knitting on it a lot longer than that, but I mentioned that I liked knitting a barley sugar from Ysolda Teague, and my husband Mark said that he would like a barley sugar, and he picked out a lace weight Knit Pick Shadow in Larch Heather. And oh god, I did a really bad job seaming it. Anyway, I finished the barley sugar. I finished it, guys. So, god, it's so not good, but basically you cast on provisionally, and then you knit just a tube, and then you kind of join the tube into a nice flat brioche piece for like 4 feet in lace weight. And then you knit. Then you turn it back into a tube and you knit for a few inches. And then you graft the provisional and, you know. Oh, I just did not graft very well. And usually I'm like pretty good about that, but just this lace weight, and I thought maybe, see, you can see it. And it's fine. It's fine. Like, I would never look at, if somebody else had knit this, I probably wouldn't even notice, right? But you know how we all are with ourselves. We're our toughest critics, right? But I thought maybe if I blocked it, it would, you know, loosen up a bit. Because I can have, you know, pretty even tension, usually, with that sort of thing, but it just didn't happen this time. I don't know if maybe I was just excited to be finished or whatever, so it looks kind of wonky, but I decided I'm not going to block this because it kind of just doesn't need it. I mean, for the most part, the fabric is just the brioche, and we'll just let him wear it a few times, and then I'll wash it at the end of this season if he wears it for winter. But yeah, so I wasn't going to record just because we have a lot of stuff going on right now, but since it's Valentine's, he gets a late Valentine's Day present, I guess. But yeah, so I used 2 full skein. I have 1 gram left of this yarn, so I think that's pretty good. I mean, that's still quite a bit of yardage for a lace weight, but that's okay. So yeah, so it's huge, and it will wrap around twice, so I'll show you. And it just kind of sits there nicely, and he's very tall, so I'm short and stout, and he's tall and thin, so it will look vastly different on him versus me, but maybe not too much. Anyway, that's that, and I'm super excited to have finished it. So moving on to other things I'm working on. I actually only have 2 things now, and I got a lot done on, well, one of them. I'll show you this one first. This is just, pardon me, my car knitting, travel knitting, going to the pub knitting. I only have done like from here, like just a few rows. This is a Muscle Burra by Ysolda Teague. Oh, and that was Barley Sugar was by Ysolda Teague too, by the way. And this is Retrosaria Mondine. It's kind of not super exciting right now because it's just straight tube for a very long time. So, and I don't really work on it too much because I haven't actually left the house too much lately. I keep looking here. I'm trying to get better about that. All right, my next project has seen a lot of work on it too. This is my Langley pullover by Amy Christophers. I never saw any, I don't think any errata, but I know that after I did the short rows, I ended up in the wrong spot. Like my beginning of row was like at the front instead of the back or something. Like, anyway, something just didn't like perfectly add up when I was after the short rows for the back. And if you don't know, like, I don't know, a lot of people watch this that aren't knitters for some reason. But a short row is not going all the way around. It's going to one point and coming back. And what that does is creates like a wedge of fabric. So you would put short rows, like knit, like say your beginning of round was here, you would knit a few more rows on this back part, go back and forth, and then go in the round again, and then maybe a few more or whatever, and that makes the back stand up a little higher because anatomically that's how, I don't know, like if you've ever had a sweater that just rides down in the back, like this has short rows in it too, but that kind of rides down and you get a little cold or it just looks kind of weird or just doesn't sit right on your shoulders. This is one way to avoid that. Anyway, so the pattern called for those. And it is a very like simple pattern, so I was kind of pleased that there were short rows included. But yeah, I ended up like just being kind of wonky and off numbers wise. And I should have talked about that before, but I just didn't because whatever. And I mean, I haven't blocked this either, so it looks kind of lumpy and bumpy. But yeah, so I finished all the yoke and I cast them for the sleeves. I have very large upper arms, so I added more stitches there. And I'm kind of making a cropped version to wear with dresses because I actually took it into my closet and matched it with a few dresses. And so now I'm on this last bit. You do some ribbing and then you do like a rolled hem after the ribbing, so hopefully that will lay flat. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm at the end of that, and then I'll start the sleeves, or the sleevels, as some people like to call them, because nothing is more frustrating. No, that's not true. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but it is frustrating to have all of this knitting done and then to still have sleeves to do, because it feels like you're in the home stretch, and really sleeves take almost as long as a body does, if not as long as a body does, depending on your numbers. But yeah, it's going quickly. And I'm enjoying working with it, and the yarn is fabulous. I used Barocco Millefiore for this color work part, and it's just like a variegated, almost a novelty yarn. I have one full skein and a partial, but I mean, like something like this, these kinds of skeins always catch my eye, like if I see them in person. Online they don't so much, but if I see them in person, I'm like, ooh. So these are fantastic for color work, and it makes it look like you put a lot more effort into your project than you actually did, because it's just, you don't have to change colors, you just use a long repeat type yarn. I can finish sentences. I do sometimes. Anyway, so the sleeves and the hem obviously don't have any color work to kind of pull that in, but I'm okay with that. So I just have to do the sleeves. So what I'll do is I will pick up, and I will probably finish this today, and pick up one of the sleeves and get going on that. The plain color I'm using is Lion Brand Fisherman's Wool. And I have this much left to finish the body, so I'm not going to be able to finish the body unless I break into this second one. This is just the second one, so this is quite a good yarn value for the yardage. And it is, I mean, it's not softest, but it's a good workhorse yarn, and I expect it's not going to pill as much as some other softer yarns are, and I kind of appreciate that. I always wear something underneath sweaters anyway, just to keep them a little bit cleaner. You know, I think back in like the olden days, people would always wear you know, undergarments to protect their outer garments. Just they didn't launder as much, and clothing was so much more expensive and valuable. So yeah, so you want to put something thin and easy to wash in between you and your woolens, and then you don't have to wash your sweaters as much. I don't know. I know that that's probably common knowledge, but probably 20 years ago I would not have given that a thought at all. So maybe you were me 20 years ago, and yeah, and you don't put sheets between your mattress and you. Yeah, anyway. Okay, we don't have to talk about that. Anyway, so Lion's Brand Fisherman's Wool. I bought this at Joann's. I think I got it on sale online, and I know I ordered 5 skeins at once, and they sent me 2 skeins of one dye lot and 3 skeins of a different dye lot with a completely different label even. So I've mentioned this before, but be kind of cautious about that. I don't know if they had like a little block, like text block, where you could add like a note saying make sure they're all one thing, but I can tell you at Joann's, they don't care. Like, they're not even trying. Every other place I order yarn from, which, I don't know, Joann's, I'm not a big box yarn person usually, but I do love this yarn. So I guess that's the price I pay. But luckily, I think I can do this whole thing in 2 skeins, and then I have 3 skeins of a different dye lot to use on something else. Maybe something cabled or something. I don't know. Anyway, kind of spacey and out of it today. Sorry. So that's my projects that I'm working on. I haven't really decided what I'm going to do next. I am enjoying being back down to only 2 projects. Once upon a time, I could have 100 on at once, and it was fantastic. And just lately, I've had a lot of projects on. I've been watching Yarn and Yarns on YouTube. I'll link below. Ange, she casts on 12 projects to work on throughout the year, and she casts them all on in like January, or at the beginning of the year, whatever the year means. And so I kind of get tempted by that, and this is probably the second year in a row that I've gotten like super tempted to do that. And then about 4 or 5 projects in, I get crazy, and I don't know, like, once upon a time that wouldn't have fazed me at all, to have a bunch of projects that I just leave around unfinished for months at a time. But now I'm like very much a work on a project, finish a project, moved on to the next one. And that is kind of, it's a happy place, but it's very unusual, I think, from my brain, because I am all over the place. Maybe it's a thing that I need to calm my brain down. It does help with focus. I do notice if I put a project down, I like almost immediately forget like what size I cast on, or if I made an adjustment. Even if I like write it down in a notebook or add it to my Ravelry notes, I still like don't record things concisely enough for me to do that well. So I think it works better for me to just cast on and then work a project to completion. Right now I've got 2 fairly, pardon me, I keep hiccuping, 2 fairly simple projects that I don't have to think too much about. So they're good like traveling and in the dark, that type of thing. But yeah, I do like to have a simple one, which will be the muscle burra. Once I finish this, I'll cast on something a little more complicated. I tried that last month with that sock, and it didn't really work out. So I don't know. I don't really have anything else in mind to take that place. I don't really know what I'm going to cast on next, and I feel almost lost in a way, because usually I'm so excited about like 10 different projects that I want to do, and there's always that so many projects, not enough time thing. And right now I'm just feeling not burnt out. I think that would be extreme, and not really uninspired, because I do still see things and think, oh, that's pretty. But I don't know. I don't know what to work on next. If there's something that I've said that I wanted to work on before, or you think that I should work on before, please leave it below. I don't know. I kind of feel like doing some cables, but I don't know. Cables are always nice. Color work is always nice. I think I'm kind of, I don't know, after the barley sugar, it's not lace, but it is kind of fiddly and lace weight. I might need a break from like actual like knitted lace or whatever, textured patterns are always good, but lace is kind of takes a bit more, which is fine. Like, I can do that. I'm able to do that. I don't know just what I feel like doing right now. I was feeling very much motivated to do something more complicated and flashy, and now, I don't know, maybe it's the weather. I just want to do, I don't know, things in colors called oatmeal and, you know, stockinette and garter stitch and moss stitch. It might be a good idea for me to find something in moss stitch, because that's exhausting to do for large projects, but I guess I'm feeling pretty inspired to do something like that. Anyway, like oatmeal for your brain. So one project I am thinking about, but I don't think I have the yardage, which is surprising. Let me just show you instead of knitting. Mark is interested in this sweater. This is Interweave Knits 100 Knits, and I've talked about it before, and it's out of print, but you can still find it in like thrift books and places for fairly inexpensively, because there are 100 patterns in here, and they are all like really good patterns. Anyway, there's this pullover, and it's kind of like a military one with the shoulder thing for, you know, their straps and whatnot to protect it. But anyway, it's super cool, but it's fingering weight, which is, I mean, I don't mind knitting intricate things from Mark, obviously. But it's saying that it takes like a ridiculous amount of yardage. And so I looked it up on Ravelry, and there's a lot of people using like 800 grams of fingering weight. And that just seems crazy. And then there are other people that are using 450. And while I would make like probably a size large, and I'm probably not going to do the sleeves as long as it calls for, because it does have a turned cuff, I do have to add to the body length because Mark is very tall. So I don't know if I have enough yarn. Let me show you. Let me show you what yarn I was planning on using. So Mark's favorite color is red. And I got this cone of Holskarn in Venetian red on sale. And while it weighs kind of the same amount as my other Holskarn cones, it's significantly smaller looking. So I don't know if this was wound on more compact, you know, so it's just, so that's already making me feel kind of iffy about if this will work. I do not have any other yarn quantities that will work for that pattern. And we spent a good time a few months ago, like picking out patterns that he would like coming up, and that was one of them. And I just don't know if I can. I feel like if I'm at like 450 grams of fingering weight, and I've already knitted like most of the sweater, and I run out and I can't, I don't think that mentally I can handle that. Emotionally, I will break things. So I don't know. I have also, I think it's the Ranger. I think it's a cardigan. I don't think it's Brooklyn tweed, but I think it's like, I think it's Brooklyn tweed, but I don't think it's Jared Flood. And that is a worsted, and I do have some red worsted. So I might do that instead of this one, but I don't know. I'm not like super excited about any project. I'm always excited to make like Raven Light mittens or underwing mitts, or, you know, something like color work, like little color work accessories, but I kind of want to bust through some of these bigger yarn quantities. I also have 2 sweater quantities of Peace Fleece, and their mill is kind of up and going again, so I really would like to use some Peace Fleece. I'm really excited to use it. I haven't used it yet, but I think it's going to make some pretty cool cardigans. Do I need any more cardigans? Not really. Does Mark? more so than I do because he's wearing them out. You saw me, I repaired his elbow in one. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I feel like knitting. It's an interesting problem to have. And it will probably only last another 30 minutes, and then I'll probably cast on like 5 different things. And then I'll have a different kind of knitting problem that I don't really want to have. All right, that might be it. Oh, I had planned on doing the Woolly Thistles color work knit along, but I think I'm gonna have to give it a pass because I can't. One of the guidelines, and I'm not complaining about this at all because I totally understand why you would do this, but one of the guidelines is to have 80% of the yarn come from the Woolly Thistle. And while I can definitely find some yarn, I don't necessarily know like where some of these Jamieson and Smith and Jamiesons of Shetlands have come from, because I kind of have collected them from all over, and I don't know if I want to do the legwork checking receipts and whatnot to see, yeah, if they were like exclusively from Woolly Thistle, because I feel like that is the right thing to do. Is if they're sponsoring a knit along, you should use their yarn. Just makes sense. So I kind of can't. I don't know. I can't figure out what I want to do, and I don't really want to put a whole lot of effort into figuring it out. There you go. That's it in a nutshell. So I may have a pass on that. Like maybe not this year. I always like sign up for things like that, or get excited about things like that, and then don't. I don't know. I probably would never host like a knit along on here because I would just forget. I'm really bad at that. I used to join all the time, and I used to do on Ravelry. There's a group called Harry Potter Knit and Crochet House Cup, and I used to do that a lot. And it's just you knit a project based on prompts from different Hogwarts classes, which is so silly and so fun, but I ended up with like 10 small projects every month, and that just didn't really work super well for me. I don't like lots of little things, and I have a lot of little things. So anyway, looking for a big project. If you have ideas, I'm listening. I hope you have all had a good Valentine's. I don't know, whatever you're celebrating. I hope that life is good for you right now, and I hope if it's not, that you can cling to those moments that are, because there are still reasons. Yeah, find your reasons. There's good ones out there. I love you all, and I might talk to you next week, especially if I finish this, or if I actually start a project that's interesting, or I think is interesting. We'll see. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.